Hey, it's Mike. It's old Religion Dystopia. Knowing versus belief. And I'm going to, break down an image. Mark from, was it Colorado Bigfoot? He captured this. He shared this with people years ago. 2017, maybe 16, 17, 18, around that area, time period. Maybe not. Maybe later than that. I'm not sure. It was sometime when I was still interested in investigating Bigfoot and in my town. After experiencing everything and going through all the crap I went through, I said enough's enough. I'm going to go back into it because I think it's important to bring this up because it's of all the deception, the lies, the Hegelian dialectic being pushed upon us with this, either it's woo or it's a flesh and blood thing. Notice it's the woo that they talk about in such derogative terms. I wonder why that is. And these things, I've seen them manifest. Sure seem flesh and blood to me. Seem to know how to tear down trees and all sorts of stuff, don't they? Make X structures and teepees and all that kind of jazz. Now this is a brilliant capture of Mark from Colorado Bigfoot. And this is something, and what's brilliant about this, now they'll tell you it's pareidolia and all this other nonsense. These are people that, first of all, they don't know how to reproduce it. And those things they get to, when you look up pareidolia, it's always artist renderings, or it's some inanimate object, man-made thing like a kitchen sink, or somebody put some stuff, like some ceramic face, Bigfoot or whatever on a tree or etc. And that's what they call it. But when it comes down to it, when you really break it down, pareidolia along with conspiracy theorists, what's fascinating about that is that these are two conjurations from the intellectual elites of our Western civilization who have been bought and sold. Usually they're anthropologists or they're quote-unquote experts in whatever field they are. And I want to tell you something. I have a scientific background, and I know 100% how easy it is to corrupt somebody, period. Especially if they got a scientific background, they got a master's degree, a PhD in the hard sciences, and they need a job, and they need to pay for put food on the plate, just like in the military, by the way. Just because somebody served in the military doesn't mean they're noble, good, or decent people. Just like people who are, say, religious leaders. And it goes on and on and on, right? Most people will sell their soul for a pot of porridge and to make sure that there's food on the dinner table for their children, and they could give a damn. They could give a damn about anybody else. And you'll find that's the same thing when it comes to the quote-unquote Bigfoot community, which is conjuration of. You find a lot of these people that have military backgrounds and quote-unquote some kind of anthropology background. Now, just as the CIA created conspiracy theorists to just dismiss anybody that questions any of the official narratives, whether it's JFK assassination or whatever, so is this thing called pareidolia. See, they don't want you to realize something. That there's a spiritual realm out there, and the people at the top of the pyramid know exactly that that's the case, and they don't want you finding out about that. They want to hit their power from these things and forget you. You just shut up. You just do what you're told and be a good slave. And this has been going on not for just 50 years or 100 years or 1,000 years. And it's recorded history. There's always been the priestcraft, the priest class, and that inner circle that makes sure that the rest of the people just do what they're told, or if they don't do what they're told, and then what they do is they use what's called the Babylonian Woe, in which every few generations they have these endless wars. They're not only about money. It's not just a banker's racket. It's not just a racket. There's purpose behind wars. The usury, the banking system, and religion, and the religious class. And what they have imposed, at least in my lifetime, I'm 54 years old, is, since I've been alive, is that this new priest class, or craft, of this new religion called scientism. And scientism is all about somehow this magical thing or person or principle called science. Now, there's the scientific method, and there's the process of discovery, but it's not something godlike, supernatural power. No, it's far from that. In fact, if one applies honestly the scientific method, you should come to even more and more questions until you finally realize where you're missing the mark or not. Now, when it comes to the Bigfoot community, they tell you that there's only two really options: the woo or the flesh and blood thing, dismissing any other options. And when you do bring up any other options or any other possibilities, then there's always these troglodytes, these knuckle-dragging Neanderthals that always seem to show up at all these different groups, whether it's on Facebook or on YouTube or whatever, and they just mock everything that you have to share with them. As if, there's like you're playing in some team, some football team, or rooting for some team. Team Woo or Team Flesh and Blood. Well, I hate to disappoint you. If that starts to happen, that's the application of the Hegelian dialectic, and it's used to divide and conquer and to keep you from ever getting to the truth. Now, in this picture, you're going to find some fascinating things if you have the capacity to see. It's not a perfect picture, far from it. But you know what? It reveals an awful lot. It reveals the fact that there is some realm. There's two realms that we know of from the Bible and from our own personal experience. That of the light of the day and that of the darkness of the night. These things that we call Sasquatch, Bigfoot, boogers, grassmen, etc., seem to be most active during the night. Now, that doesn't mean you can't see these things during the day. Far from that. But most times when you do see these things during the day, they're like shadows. They're very dark and black. Jet black. Yeah, I wonder what that's all about. We'll look into that. If you stick around long enough to learn some stuff. Now, if you want to be entertained, well, there's a lot of really good, very talented groups of people out there. They can present the narrative, the message in a way that will entertain you and keep your head and your wheels spinning, but you'll never get anything closer to what's really going on. Now, in this image, I don't know if you've started seeing anything. Of course, there's the yellow circle of this. And there's this dude with his dark eyes and his big nose and this crap going on. Although he's got a head on top of him, too, if you really look. Yeah, and he's white. Somebody call that a white Bigfoot. And I've captured things that look just like this, and I've seen other people capture entities that look just like this with the kind of big nose. What's fascinating here, too, if you look real closely, there's one with the almond brown entity right here, the nose, the mouth, his buddy next to him with the transparent clear eyes, with his mouth looking at you, whoever's taking this picture, his hair, and you'll see this, but I just want to point this out now. As you start looking, there's another buddy behind here, another buddy behind here, and there's kind of this transparent entities. There's another one right here, and if you can see that, there's his eyes, his nose, his mouth. He's got the pinkish, leathery looking face, and with the hair and all that. We got this dude right here with the big nose and all that. Another one right there. You know, there's this reason why they have totems, and it's not about anything to do with freaking coyotes and eagles. Although for dumb white people, that's what it's for, and maybe rightfully so. And here we have this guy peeking behind this tree. We have the white above his eyes, the white around his mouth, and he's jet black. You'll find that there's other things going on here too as we go on. But I want you to really stick with me here, okay? Don't just dismiss everything I'm sharing with you before really looking what I have to share with you. By the way, I wish that this yellow circle wasn't there. I don't remember if that was from Mark. If Mark ever sees this and you have the original photo, I'd love to see it. I'll share people. You know, Mark, he probably won't remember me, but I started doing paintings actually of some of the things that were in his woods until things got too crazy along with other things, and these things started to realize real soon that I knew that they were there and the game was on. These things will come home and follow you. By the way, there's another ghoulish thing right here with the eyes and the nose and this gray guy. I'll darken this up a little bit here so that you can see it more. Once again, before I start circling things, there's an entity right here. There's an entity right here. There's the almond, or the brownish, the rusty, or I don't know what people call that, this reddish brown thing that everyone sees popping out of the tree. And once again, there's his buddy with his transparent eyes, his nose, his mouth, his hairdo, you know, the big old hair thing. There's another thing right here, another thing right here. Once again, there's one right here. And there's something going on here. And there's some ape-like things going on here. There's things up the bottom here. There's a lot going on in this picture, if you have the eyes to see. Most people won't. They'll say, oh, it's a pareidolia. Until you ask them, prove it. And then they don't do it. They get a tree and they draw a face on it. Or they do show some, you know, something that some clown, a Yahoo, who pretends to be a Bigfoot researcher, which really is, there's a cult going on, folks. And people join it because they're desperate to belong to something. I don't want to belong to anything. I just want to know the truth, and that's all I care about. I don't want to belong to the Bigfoot community. I don't belong to anybody's community. And the only reason I even joined any of these groups, again, after years of my silence, is because I see, once again, there's no real progress, and no one's getting honest to the spiritual side of all this. Now, the Native Americans knew that this was a huge spiritual side to this. And, you know, people say, what is this stuff? Well, did you ever think that there might be such a thing as wood demons? That's right. Entities, unclean spirits, demons, whatever they are. And you know what? They fest in these trees. And then at night, they get together and they have their rampage and all this other crazy nonsense. And they tear down their trees and all that kind of stuff and harass people who know what's going on. And then the daytime, it's amazing how they just all vanish. Once in a while you'll see something on the edge of the woods. Maybe you'll see something across a field. For whatever reason. Most times out of nine, probably the most of the time is some dude in a Yahoo and a suit. But I can tell you one thing: when you do see something that's a quote unquote clan of these things, there ain't just. There might be one that looks like Patty from the Patterson Gimlin film, but most of them don't look anything like that. And the reason why people call them a tribe is because there's a whole bunch of spirits that like to hang out together. This has always been the case. Nothing's new under the sun. The only thing is, the yahoos who have been indoctrinated, brainwashed, and propagandized by the public fool system, the television, and the quote-unquote higher learning, have been totally convinced that they somehow are smarter and more brilliant and more intelligent than people 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago. And I am out to argue that we are dumber today than we have ever been. Which, by the way, Casey, who used to be the head director of the CIA, made it very clear once. And so did the last guy, what's Pompeo or whatever, and bragging about how they lied about everything. And that when Casey made it very clear, he said, and I'm paraphrasing it, but he said, though it was to make sure their job, they know when their job is done, when the American public, everything that they believed in was a lie. And they've done a damn good job of it. Who would not want you to know all this stuff? Well, I know some. The monarchies of Western and Eurasia and the Western Europe, and which, by the way, the largest monarchy in the world is the Vatican, along with a lot of other yahoos, don't want you to know about any of this stuff because these are the things that they're playing with. And it has nothing to do with me believing in Jesus or not, because you don't have to believe in Jesus to figure this one out. Here's a more closer look of these. Here you can see the entities. Actually, I think what I'll start doing is go here and we'll get out of there, get a new one, go here, blacken it, and we'll paste something. Where are you guys? Colorado Bigfoot. Now it's pretty blurry here, but we'll go back. But I want you to be able to see what I'm seeing first. There's entities throughout here. Starts to get too pixelated. That's the part of the problem. So there are a whole bunch of entities here. There's the guy with the dark eyes and the big nose. We'll start with this. The reason why we have to do this and highlight these things is because most of you don't have any eyes to see what's going on. Even you to claim you do. You don't. Now, what's funny about this guy is he actually has a dude on top of his head. As a totem goes. So first of all is this dude, the white dude. Right? There's his eyes. Here's his eyes. Now we'll get out of there. Oh, no, what we'll do is shoulders. There. Now on top of his head, he has this clown. Eyes, eyes, nose. And then there's the mouth. Yeah. So, let's get out of this one because it's too pixelated. Okay. Now the next one I want just is the guy next to him. It's all been the... There's this dude, his ear. There's an entity right there. So this is just a bunch of entities. By the way, this is not branches. This is not needles from the pine forest. These are entities popping out. Okay. This is one of the more fascinating ones. I've seen this guy before, and this is this dude right here. He's got the jet black face. He's got the mouth. He's always half and half a face. He's got the white around the mouth and down the throat. He's got the nose. There's this thing over his head. Mouth. Ah, shit. Let's try this again. There's an eye right here. Shit. Back is burning. There's an entity there. A lot of these things, just strangely enough, have black in them and white. He's got another one of his buddies right here. And notice a lot of these totems, the Native Americans look a lot like these things. There's the nose, the mouth, the eye. And the white. Now let's take that off. I want you to look at that. And you'll see that there's a head right there. Just floating in there. And there's another head right there. And you notice there's a lot of heads. Right there. Now the next thing is these dudes right here. We'll start with the dude. Right here. He's got his brow and it's got the white things. He's got an eye, and a nose, and a mouth. And he's got the shaggy beard. That's actually an entity there. I'll have to make a smaller, show you a smaller image of it in a bit so you can see it better. But I'm trying to point these out, so just try to remember some of this stuff. Now here's his next buddy right here. His next of kin. Actually, there's a guy next to him here, but for just so you can see it. All right, this is like the hair. And it's fascinating. A lot of these guys, in the light, it's like their eyes look just like it. His nose. And his mouth. Okay? And he's next to his orangutan buddy. king of the orangutans. We'll take that out. So there's an entity right there. There's another one right here. Eye here, mouth. Okay, I can take that out. Oh, shoot. So anyways, that's that one guy right there. And then there's another guy right there. And he's got the profile thing going on. He's got the white eyes, the mouth. Okay. I mean, there's a lot of entities here. A lot of them. And they'll try to convince you this is all pareidolia. Well, let's just get to this guy here because he's a fascinating subject. And they're all together. There's the side of the trees behind that log. That's a big damn ass log. And there's his eyes. That's part of his nose. There's the mouth. No, they don't look all like a monkey man. A lot of them are hairy and all that kind of stuff. But there's another guy right there. He's got his little buddy right there. Looks like a freak. There's another guy right here. See, Native Americans see these things. They know what they're looking at. You don't. These things are lurking in the shadows. You think it's pareidolia because you believe in the people that lied to you about every other thing in your life. Literally. The government has lied to you about every damn thing. And who is the government? You might want to start asking that question. Because it's a bunch of yahoos that feel that they have an obligation and a right to rule over your life about every damn thing and to make sure you do everything that they want. It's not a conspiracy theory. This is always the way it is. It's never changed. In all the time in history, it's never changed. So if you look at this, you'll see that these have a lot of these entities in it. Now, I expect a lot of you to just laugh at this and just dismiss it as because you're stupid. That's what it is. And you think you're intelligent because you got your head all, in a block. You're a blockhead. You've received higher education at best. Most of you have just read a few books and play your video games and stare at the computer all day long and jerk off to it and all that other stuff. And you pretend like you know something. And you want to be part of a group, and so you'll do anything that the group tells you to do. Just like, people rooting for their favorite football team. It's insane, but that's how people are. You don't have to be that way. You're conditioned to be that way because you have a shallow, empty slave's life. Just like me. The difference is, I bother to look into this shit. For real. Now, you can see here, just once again, the eyes. You see how transparent the eyes are. They didn't pop in his head out there. There's a group. So there's one dude right here. And he's got stuff in front of him. But there's his eye, dark eye and all that. God, my shoulder's burning. Why is it burning? It's got to be that 5G. And then there's the eyes right there. The mouth, there's another one right there. You can see their eyes. It's like they reflect off the light of the sun. There's another guy right there. And there's this dude. There's there. His mouth. Excuse me, his nose, his mouth, his two eyes, his bridge, and etc. There's actually another one right here. And there's an eye there, and he's looking up. And fascinating, in between the logs, if you look real careful, there's that dude with the white going through him and all that, with the white around the mouth. And a lot of people, film these things. And there's the head and all that. And if you look a little closely, there'll be those. If you want to have your Bigfoot thing, there's one right there. There's his Bigfoot thing right there. There's the cone. There's the white ridge. There's the deep recent eyes. There's the white beard around it. There's the ooh. There's the ear. It's there. Now this is another example, though, that we're looking between the entities, looking within the logs, and you see this. There's eyes, piercing eyes, like white, like it's translucent, like it's reflecting off the light, the daylight. So there's one right there. He's a little guy right there. I don't know, maybe he's one of those little people things, whatever. It doesn't take very much imagination. You just got to open up your eyes to what's in front of your face. So there's a little guy right there. And there's the entities. There's an entity right there. There's the guy, Mr. White, with something. It's like funny. It's a totem. There's entity right there. And there's an entity right there. And there's an entity right there. There's an entity right here. And there's an entity right there. Some reflect the light more than others, depending on how much they're in the shadows. But it's funny how at certain times of the day that their eyes will reflect the light. It doesn't take much imagination. If I did a drawing, I did a painting of it, I could, but then I really don't want to. You do it. It's right there. So there's the guy, the black face guy with the white, the dark eye recessed right there. Probably somebody freaking Facebook mocking me. And you know what? I don't care. Honestly, don't care what they think, because I know they're idiots. So, and it's not just my opinion; they're idiots. And the only thing they're possibly able to do is yell at you like a bunch of morons, but they'll never do anything about nothing. So here's an example of how these entities use the shadows, even during daytime. And it's just a blob. Well, it's a blob because they're spirits. You can see the eye right there, kind of. There's a big one right there. They always seem to be around dead trees. This one's interesting. I didn't change any of the lighting, but there's actually, this is the light piercing through the woods, and there's actually an entity right there. We'll go here again. At times these things just manifest. The people don't want to believe this because they've been brainwashed and watching their movies, Hollywood movies, and their Harry Potter books and Lord of the Rings, and so they think there's no such thing as any of this stuff. Well, I can't help it except tell you the truth, and knowing full well that most of you don't even deserve the truth, so you won't accept it anyways. It's your problem, not mine. But there are people out there that do want to know the truth. So anyways, there's an entity right here. You can see his big old eyes, his flattened out nose, his mouth. And this is out in the forest. I think this is... Who was that guy? So let's... Now, there's more than just one there, by the way, but I just want you to look at that one. There's actually another one right here. But if you can't see that one, you probably won't be able to see that one, so... Now it's all blur. It's all, the light distortion. So, but that's it. That's him. He's in the trees, in the groves, peeking out. There's a reason why these people spend their time in their groves. So here's that son of a vision thing right there. That big old fucking eye. Yes, you should see that one. Monster. Just a monster of a spirit. Let's see where I'm at here. Okay, find my spot here. So this is that just amazing image, and I'm sure he didn't even see it. He probably didn't even want to see it. Wouldn't even recognize it. And everyone would tell him it's a pareidolia anyways. So he's going to run for the hills from it. But that's what it is. It's spirits. Sorry to disappoint you, and well, I know everybody wants. Here's can't read it if you remember somebody just subbed to my channel, Bigfoot is Spirits, but this is a great image. Another example, the dark image, just popping out. There's the mouth, the eyes, shadow people, huh? And he's pointing out. There's the heads. There's actually is a head. You can see there's the brows, the eyes, the nose. But it's all pareidolia, so. Here's another great example of just a shadow entity just popping. First we were going to. There's an eye right there. There's a mouth. There's its head. It's more than one, but just blobbing. It's just there. It cannot be. That can't be. They told me otherwise. The Bigfoot experts told me otherwise. There's a big son of a bitch right here. You can see his eyes. Some of these things look just like frogs. There's another one right there too. Is it the same one? Just blobbing out. Right there's one right there. Along with his buddy. But he's got to be a Bigfoot. So sometimes, it's funny. I think what they do is they will manifest what they want you to see, which they think you want to see. So most of you have been convinced that it's got to be some big old hairy ape, and so they'll make it look like it's a hairy ape. There's a dark one right here, right, with his buddies, but you can see his eyes right there and right there. Just a dark, just beastly thing, man. And who's the name of that guy? First of all, I like that. Damn these human beings! If I had invented them, I would go hide my head in the bag. Allegedly from Mark Twain. Allegedly. Joe Sasquatch, that's where it's from. I'm sure Randall Nuss will not be appreciative of the fact that I showed his face there, because he's one of these guys that's very deep. This video, if you break down this video, there are so many entities, force entities. It's just the right angle of sunlight, just the right positioning of the shadows. You can see these things pop out like you wouldn't believe. And don't think for one moment that the Native Americans, indigenous tribes throughout all the world, and all the populations throughout the world knew this is going on. But certain groups of people wanted to make sure you never knew anything about this stuff, and they go out of their way to do something about that. And so you have these people just laugh, all this kind of stuff, and that's what they do. Just look at all the people that just like this weasel, Liam Prince. What a name! It's not true. DJ Sharp, sure. You have all these people mocking you for telling the truth. You got this, as if he's intelligent. I'd be more than willing to challenge any one of you to prove me wrong. And you know what? You won't, because you know you won't, because you know you don't really know what you're talking about. But you're desperate in convincing everybody else that you do know what you're talking about. Now, why am I bothering what I'm doing? Well, I'll tell you why, because I'm actually quite concerned about people. Unlike you, I care about these people that are researching this stuff. Why? Because I don't want any bad to come to them. But you probably don't give two craps about them, do you? All you care about is you're Mr. Big Shot, and you know what's going on, and you're part of the crew. But I hate to tell you, the crew, you don't know what's going on, and you don't know what you're getting yourself into. They know what's going on. You know, you hear this stuff about it's women, it's the female of human beings, and something else. Kind of, we hear histories and stories of that, whether it's the Nephilim or the endless, all cultures throughout the whole world of women marrying themselves off to entities, spirits. Why? I know why, so that they could acquire this supernatural powers, like the Gergetstein, that one that had a legion of demons in them. People seem to have this amazing insight, and you don't, but they do. You ever notice that? And they have this ability to do all sorts of horrendous and terrible, rotten things. Steal, kill, and destroy. Create all sorts of inventions of evil. Lie and deceive, as long as it strokes their ego and they're able to, feel like they're Mr. Big Shot or Mrs. Big Shot. I'm going to tell you something. The more you study this stuff, you realize how vulnerable you actually are and how you are not Mr. or Mrs. Big Shot. You are in something that's deeper than you can handle. I guarantee you're in something deeper than you could handle. But most people see, and this is what they fed you. It's a booger. It's a Bigfoot. It's some hominoid from the past, a relic from the past. Keep on making people chase after ghosts, literally. Meanwhile, they're totally wasting their time. You know, a number of people who actually would seriously get involved with this stuff, how it ruins your life, literally. You see, that's why it doesn't bother me having them in the end of the day really make fun of me, because I expect it. I walked away from it, I was going to expect it. But you know what? You'll see in the end, if somebody like me, and if you're brave enough to do the same thing, that a lot of people will start coming to your side. They'll say, you're right, Mike. The only thing that makes sense is that, like the Native Americans said, like everyone else said, they're spirits. This is what the sorcery, wizards, etc. use spirits and groves. And why do they groves? Because they live in the trees. Why do they live in the trees? Because they don't like dry places. How it makes up a tree? It's about 70% water, if not more. That's right. And it's fascinating. These things will suck the life out of these trees. Push them over, break them, makes all sorts of their little structures, their little communities or little cities or whatever. That's what people want to believe. Really it is just they want to be unleashed on us. They want us to be infest in you. They want to live in you. And a lot of people end up doing just that. And now they have all these different things happen to them at first. And they have all this money that showed up. Or all of a sudden this girl showed up, like what happened to me. But in the long run, you pay the price because you wouldn't listen to the truth. And the truth is, a lot more startling and a lot more devastating than even your pastor, your local Bigfoot researcher, your local, whatever your average military guy has to say, your average Joe has to say. The truth is, you're playing with fire when you do this shit. And I watch these guys and they go out in the field and they're playing around this stuff and they think they're going to come home with some, and they never come home with anything. A knock or two, some hoot and holler, some demonic sounding thing, things chasing them around them, right parallel them, 3 feet in front and beside them, whacking on their campers and their tents and etc. And everyone goes, where's it? And they can't find it. Once in a while they'll show up, once in a while. And I'm going to tell you something. The worse the atrocities, the worse the violations, spiritually, morally, whether it's the worse the blood ritual is, the more these things are going to manifest. I guarantee you, thanks to what's happened in the past 2 years, worldwide, and with the recent wars, like in the middle of the Eurasia, it's going to be real easy this winter to film these things if you have eyes to see. The thing is going to be when they come home and follow you, and they not only follow you, they come in your frickin' house, and torment you and do all sorts of things, which they will, by the way. So, I'm protected by Jesus. Are you? The odds of most of you who call yourself Christians don't know diddly squat about Jesus, what he said or did. And just because God will have mercy for you for a season, for a moment, but you will be too lazy to go chase Jesus or God Almighty. You'll chase after these things, and eventually you'll pay the price because you've opened up the doors and allowed it happen. I hope you got eyes to see, and hope you got ears to hear. And I feel so sorry for the vast majority of you people that call yourself Bigfoot researchers, or this whole Hegelian dialectic, this game that they're playing on you, that it's, whether it's woo or it's physical, and all this other stuff, you know what I mean? You're out of your mind. After what I went through, I don't ever want to go back in the woods. I don't want to see these things for real again. All I want to know is about Jesus. I don't want to know about these things. But I know that I also have an obligation to point this out to somebody out there. Most of you ain't going to hear this. It's not for you. It's that person that has ears to hear, that has eyes to see, that God made sure that they had eyes to see and ears to hear, that might turn from all this stuff before it's too late. I guarantee you, there's a whole lot of Native Americans out there that tell you the same damn thing. There's a whole lot of shaman out there tell you the same damn thing. There's a whole lot of Druid priests, and there's a whole lot of the Synagogue of Satan. There's a whole lot of people, or the part of the diviners of the serpent, and etc., and all these other cults, and all these inner circles of these secret societies that wish they never knew any of this stuff. Oh yeah, they have bigger houses and bigger cars, and they have their trophy life, but you know what? They know they're damned. They all know they're damned. And you know how you know you're damned? Because every day, when there's the sun out, that big old thing that you think is a ball, that circle, that light that's shining directly on us, that you think is 93 million miles away. Here's another thing, too. Do you realize how easy it is to lie with statistics and with math? You can make something look like it's 90 million miles away or 90 miles away. Did you know that? It's real damn easy. Yeah, you can do that. It doesn't take a genius to do that. In fact, it's funny. Prior in 2019, there's this image that late 2019, 2020, an image that Mr. Gates shared on the internet of his recommended books to read, and in the middle of it all was lying through statistics. Literally, he had a book like that. a coded message to those that had eyes to see. And what have they done in the past 2 years and before and always? They've been lying through statistics. There's not a reason for you to believe anything that comes out of television. 90% of what comes out of the internet, and most of what's coming out of your damn mouth, are the people around you. You really need to sit back, sit still, and really think about what's going on and what your eternal future is. And believe me, you go into some particular Christian church or denomination, in quotes, by the way, Christian, is not the recipe for your salvation. Your salvation is to make a decision of whether that story, that character called Jesus is real or not, and accept it or not. And by the way, the reason why I believe in Jesus is not because of my book learning, because I guarantee you I can argue with the best of them about what that book really says. And I know it's a little bit that, well, it's a little bit arrogant to say that, but it's the truth because I spend a lot of time. I don't come to the belief in Jesus based on intellect. I believe in it because when I started seeing them on a regular basis, because this is what happens. Once they realize, you realize, the game's on. Do you understand that? I start seeing these things more frequently, and next thing you know, they're freaking showing up in my house, walking on my porch, popping out of my freaking neighbor's tree. The number of trees and it's just a triangulation of the houses on both sides and behind me. All have lost houses during that time. Trees during that time period. Why is it I'm capable of filming these entities and these trees? And by the way, I'm not just making it up. All you have to do is just look at the cover page of the YouTube channel and see those things popping out of those trees and take a very damn good look because there's eyes in them. And it ain't pareidolia. I'm telling you, you're messing with fire. And just, you want to be part of this yippy-dippy club. I'm on the woo side. I'm on the flesh and blood side. And you know what? You're all on the wrong side. You're messing with fire. You better understand what you're really getting involved in here. You know a number of witches and sorcerers and the members of the different priestcraft over the endless millennia have destroyed their lives, their communities' lives, by messing with these things. You have one moment of grandeur, you're on top of the world, you're Mrs. or Mr. Big Shot, and the next moment your whole life's destroyed. Economically, physically, spiritually. Steal, kill, and destroy. Why is that? Because you messed with this stuff. There's no good that happens. And by the way, when you really look at these images and you really pay attention to what's going on, there'll be one that looks like a Bigfoot. Another one looks like a damn lizard. Another one looks like some hook-nosed, God knows what. In all different shapes and sizes. Some that look like the clownest of things. All sorts of skeletons. All sorts of stuff. Not the skeletons that you envision, that you have brainwashed from Halloween and all that, and what you've seen, the human skeleton. I'm talking about things that look dreadfully evil. This is no joke. And people are trying to warn you forever and a day, and there's all these these fat, overweight, bearded bozos. It takes all the effort in the world from just to take a shower and they wash, between their balls, acting like they're the big shots. And they got all these young guys, and they're just idiots. You'll hear all the time stuff about it's CGI, and then you ask them prove it. They never do it. I can tell what's CGI. All the images of the Earth, that's CGI. All the images of the planets and the stars are all CGI. Did you know that? All those, those images of the galaxies and all this, they're all they're all artist renderings. Every last one of them is. Did you realize that? And you know what? You can prove it to yourself. How damn close the planet and the stars are, as I had. Because these freaking things, for some reason, somehow have a connection with those stars. And probably there's some logic to that, because they are part of the creation of darkness. Not of light, of the night. No, it's not spiritual. I'm someone that's really into the scientific method. Horse crap. You're not into. You never done it your entire life. You never applied the scientific method once in your entire life. Do you realize that? Oh, yeah, I did. I went out and read some books about Bigfoot and went out with my buddies, my guns, and went camping out in the woods. I heard some knocking and I heard some noise. That's the enemy flesh and blood. Look at Patty. You don't have a clue what you know. You know what? It's just a belief system. You don't know jack squat, and that's the problem. Look at this thing. Not only that, there's a massive one right here. Do you see that? There's an eye there and an eye there. Do you see that? Look real close, because there's ones all different sizes, and there's one looking right at you saying, yeah, come on, Mark from Bigfoot, Colorado Bigfoot. Come on. We'll be your buddy. We'll be your buddy. Come on, Marky Mark. No, there's not a single one of you who's going to outwit this stuff. Do you realize that? And you could bring all your buddies with all your machine guns and all your other gadgets and all that, and you know what you're going to do? Nothing about any of this. Oh, shoot a couple of them. Okay, shoot a couple of them. What's the matter? How much is the truth about the Planet of the Apes? Who's the one that's not belonging in this picture? Is it these things or you? Think real hard.
You're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. If you're going to try, go all the way. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, jobs, and maybe your mind.